Hey guys, welcome back to a new video, and oh my, what a special video this is. Today we are looking at the ASUS ROG RTX 4080. This is the Strix variant, and a big thank you to Scan and Nvidia for sending this out for me to look at. Now Scan, if you're not familiar with them, are one of the biggest retailers in the UK and been an absolute fantastic supporters of the channel. There's a little bit of a backstory with this. I've been trying to get a 40 series card for you guys to see some coverage on for the longest of times. They generally either are on rotation and they go to the biggest channels first, which is understandable, or they're seeded to channels that are bigger, but I'm just not at that point yet. Thankfully, Scan and Nvidia have very kindly sent this, and also a 4070 Ti as well for me to cover. So first and foremost, we're going to be using this in builds, but another opportunity being that this is the Strix card and they have the same cooler across the 4070 Ti, 4080, 4090, is that we can test cases to see if these cards will fit, because a lot of people are now worried if their case can take these massive chunky cards. So this will be a good product to be able to use to see if we have case tolerances and things like that. So let's do an unboxing of this absolute monster, and also to compare it to some previous cards that we've got, just to see how ridiculously massive it is. Of course, overclocked edition, as I mentioned, so we've got 16 gigabytes of GDDR6X memory on this one. There are 9,728 cores on this. You have a boost clock of 2,625, and of course this is on the Ada Lovelace 4nm architecture. So let's very carefully, because this is worth more than my life, slide it out. And then we have, oh god, it's so heavy. So we'll talk about pricing and things in a minute as well, because there are a couple of things to note. If you are after such a powerful card, there are ways you can go about it to get something a little bit more, less of a hole in the wallet. God, look at the size of it. But already absolutely crazy. Right, let's take this out first and put it to the side, and we'll look below because we have a little bit more to look at. So this here, I've seen one of these in other videos before. This is a phone stand that you can punch out, all made from cardboard, a little nifty thing. We have the trading card, so this is of course the ROG Strix. Below that, some warranty information. There's also some information about the little card holder that you get, some information about the adapters, and then a quick start guide. And then below we have a little GPU sag bracket, which is actually double-ended as a screwdriver, so you can install your card with this and then help hold it up once you've finished with the screwdriver element. Pretty cool. There's also a little Velcro cable tie, so presumably for the adapter, and then we have the adapter itself. So this one we are using 3 8-pins to then the 16-pin or 12-volt high power connector. Now, like or dislike the adapters, I will be using this for my benchmarking. The rig that I've got doesn't have an ATX3 one in yet, so we'll be using one for that. I think this is heavier than the heaviest motherboards that I've looked at as well. So let's get some pills, because this is absolutely covered in pills. Start at the top, little one there. So minus cases, I think those were the biggest pills I've ever done in my life. So there we can see the 3 fans. These are the Axle Tech fans, which are scaled up to give 23% more airflow. And just look at that blue and red, slight gradient to it actually, like where my thumb is on the top there, a bit more purpley where it blends, but that looks absolutely gorgeous. Not a colour you generally put together, blue and red, but it does work very well with the Strix colouring. I just want to quickly turn this upside down to show you this massive pin array. The engineering in these cards is just fantastic. I was actually talking to my mum the other day about it, and it's just, you can see where the money is in just how all of these things are built. Pricing is another matter for these certain cards, but you can see certainly where some of the money is. Let's go to the other end. There is some RGB in this area, and you've actually got 2 4-pin connections on the end there as well, so if you want to plug in additional fans that are nearby into it, you can do that. You've got that 16-pin connector. Of course, the RGB Republic of Gamers logo will light up, and then you also got a performance and quiet mode switch, P, and then the Q mode that's just on the back plate. And then on the top of that back plate, you have got some mirrored ROG and the logo on the end. And I love how that is textured. Looks very cool. Now I/O wise, let's have a look. So we've got 3 display ports on this, which are 1.4A, and then you've got 2 HDMIs, which are 2.1A. Final peel. Always nice, those ones. So sizing, this is a 3.5 slot card. Length is 357 millimeters by 149.3, and then 70.1 high. For reference, this is a 3080 Tough Edition, just dwarfed. And this is the other biggest card that I have on hand, which is a 3080 Ti, and even that again is pretty small in comparison. So just want to talk about pricing and what power supplies and stuff you need before we actually put this into a system. It's currently £1,489. Eye-watering amounts of, I know, that's why we're going to be using this in so much content. But the OC version is actually the same price as the standard edition, so you obviously will grab the OC one if you're looking to get one of these, specifically the Strix models. If you're looking for a more affordable, you're set in a 4080, then look at the Tough range. They are currently £1,249, so you're saving £250 just from the different model. Yes, the boost and core clock isn't quite as high. This is the highest end that ASUS do, but it does mean you're still in the 4080 realm for a lot, for a good significant chunk of money less. And power supply, you're going to need at least a 750 watt is the recommended for this. I'm going to use, I think I've got 1,000 in the test bench, so we'll be nice and clear with that. But if you're looking to get one of these yourself, just bear in mind you do need a decent power supply. And to be fair, who wants to risk their absolutely monstrous GPU with a cheap power supply anyway? All we can do now is get this into a system and see how it performs. And my expectations are very high. Okay, so first we're doing Cyberpunk. Naturally, I think it's the most intensive title that we've got in the library. So I'm going to go for Ray Tracing Ultra as our little preset. I'm going to turn DLSS off because I feel I want to see how we get on with the raw grunt from the card rather than adding any, AI and stuff like that to it. So I'm going to apply this. 3840 by 2160. We're going to go full screen. I'll apply that. Okay, and now we can go for the benchmark. Okay, so I did expect it to be quite low, and it was. It was 28.49 as our average frames, higher 36.8, and then minimum of 22.5. I'm going to change this now to Ultra preset, which does have some DLSS on it as well. So let's see how it gets on with that one. So straight away, that one setting now takes us up to about 75 frames. So you can see how well DLS just helps really crank those FPS. One of the main goals of my 4070 coverage was to show the DLSS, and you can just see here how well just one setting increases the FPS just wildly. So we go with DLSS, we have got 77.38 as an average. So of course these settings are really cranked, but I would turn these down if I wanted to just do some actual gaming. Try and aim for that 144 Hz, especially as I'm using the 144 Hz monitor as well. So let's move on to our next game. So under Crisis Remastered, okay, we're going to go for, of course, 4K. We're going to push it today as well. Yes, we do want to keep that. Display frequency, 144 Hz. Apply, yes. And I'm going to go for, let's go for a very high to begin with. We'll turn motion blur off because it's trash, and we shall go into our game. So 120 frames currently, which is pretty damn good straight out of the box. So this is using DLSS, so that's going to help give us some extra frames. It's feeling buttery smooth though, which is nice. 158 frames there. And a little bit further up. 160. So on a high preset, anything from 120 to about 160 frames on Crisis Remastered. So onto Far Cry, let's just check our quality settings. I'm going to go for the Ultra in this one because we know it can do it, come on. And of course, we are using full screen, 3840 by 2160, 1440 at 144 Hz. So results are in, average of 94 frames, 107 was our maximum with a dip to 81 with a minimum. As I mentioned in pretty much every kind of graphics card video, try and hit that 144 Hz, just bring the settings down a little bit. But if you do want to go full quality with a 4080 Strix, then you can expect around 100 frames as a average. And we've got everything cranked to full as we always do with Apex Legends. Not as much of a demanding game as some of the others we've tested, so we shall see how it goes. We have got reflex on there if we want to add it on. I'd like to see how we get on without any additional boosts. As we drop in, we're at 170 frames, a little drop there to 120, but we're certainly doing very well considering we're at the most intensive point of the game where we're dropping in still. So this is certainly the less intensive of the titles we'll look at today. So I don't even think we'll need to cover Valorant because we're going to be in excess of over 400 or 500 frames. The game's looking very nice and we're sitting around 200 frames, so what's not to love. Doesn't look like we're going to actually see any action, so I think we're going to call it there. But 220 frames we're at now, and then when we were dropping in we saw down to about 160, 170 frames. So cranked settings, this is certainly going to do very well even in 4K. So we're going ultra high for Dirt 5. I think it's the last type we're going to try, just to give something a little bit different from just shooting games. So we can see what we will get with this. Let's turn ray tracing on as well. Then we're going to go back and then down to benchmark. See what we get with this. So certainly looks very good, and we've got an average of 117 frames. Minimum 22, that's a little bit strange. I'm not sure what happened there. But a maximum of 200 frames. So again, like I said to you before, just drop the settings a little bit further down to get that 144 Hertz. But even at 4K, I think that's pretty impressive. So results wise, some pretty epic performance there from the 4080 Strix. Kind of expecting nothing less from the highest end SKU that ASUS do for the 4080. So testing wise, as you saw, I did everything with 4K. This is basically to see the absolute limits that the Strix will give us. And the monitor is the U28G2XU, second generation from AOC. If you're wondering, 144 Hertz. So, we just wanted to push it as far as we could. Of course, if you're going to go for a low resolution monitor, then you're going to get higher FPS. But this was to show the absolute ceiling what the 4080 could give us. Temperature wise, with this system, we saw a high of 67.2. So, very cool for what kind of performance we were getting from it. Kind of expected that again though, considering the over-engineered cooler that is on the Strix cards. But we would like our components to stay cooler than to just be, liquid hot all the time. So no complaints there. So that was a look at the ASUS ROG Strix 4080 Overclocked Edition. Hope you've enjoyed the video. I will leave links and everything down in the description box below if you want to pick one up. Of course, don't forget there is the Tough Edition if you want to save yourself some money and you're set on a 4080. I think a lot of content creators will be looking at the 4080s for the just sheer amount of CUDA cores that they have. Great for rendering and things like that. Of course, a big thank you to Scan for sending this out for me to look at. We'll be using this in a number of builds to come, and also using it in cases to see if it can take the sheer size of these new 40 series cards or not, may be the case, pardon the pun. Thank you everyone for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Leave a comment what you think about the Strix down below. I will get back to you with any questions as well, and like I said, links will be in the description. So thank you all for watching. Get subscribed and ding the bell so it's a future upload. Thank you all for watching. Thank you to Scam Centers out for me to look at, and I'll see you all in the next one.